Here we are with the part 1, the MCQ or the electronic part in your term 3 exam. This is for grade 12 advance. The first question is to find the area between curves using definite integration. That means the limits will be given or you need to find it out. Please note that in these problems, I will use the shortcut methods or the calculator methods. Since you have 4 options, you can directly solve the problem and check the correct option and get the answers. Now the first problem uses this formula. It uses the limits, integral of with the limits a to b, upper function minus the lower function. Now even if you do not know which is upper and lower, you can find it out as long as the limits and the functions are known. Let's look into this problem here. First, let's take out our calculators. Before we begin, let's clear our calculators by pressing Shift 9, 3 equal to and AC. Now it's cleared. Here you can just choose any equation. This is the symbol integral. Choose any equation. I don't know which is upper or lower. It's x cubed minus, let me use the other equation. Don't forget to use the brackets. Whenever there is minus, please use the brackets. If the first function you're writing, doesn't matter because it's all plus itself, but for the second function, use the brackets. And here the limits are lower limit to higher limit. Whatever the limits are given, the lower will be first. The smaller number will be written over here and up above will be the higher limit. The answer is 40/3 and that's the correct answer itself. But what if I had taken the upper and lower limits wrong? I mean the functions wrong. This was not the upper, this was lower and this was upper. Let's try that now. I will just change the functions. X squared minus 1 is the first function subtracted from x cubed. Now the answer is the same thing, but it's just minus. So you don't need to bother finding which is upper and lower. Just use this formula. You will get the correct answer itself. It's 40/3. But if you choose the wrong functions, upper and lower is messed up, then you will have negative answer. It's fine. Even over here, I'm not gonna, write it out. I'm not gonna, draw the graphs and solve which is upper and lower. Directly press this out. I will take cos, just cos x, close the bracket, minus x squared. Now it's better to use brackets here. Minus x squared plus 2. If you don't use brackets, you need to keep changing the signs, which is, confusing at times. So it's better to use brackets. And over here, the limits are 0 to 2. Now, will I get the answer if I press equal to? This is wrong answer. Why? Because we have trigonometric function, shift the mode to radian. That is shift mode and press 4. Now it's in radian. You can see the R symbol shows it's radian. This is the answer. But now what's the problem? I got negative answer. Why? Because this is the lower function. This is the upper function. But that's fine. I'm not going to bother about it because the 4 options will be given. Whichever has this is the correct answer. But most likely you won't have the answer like this. You will have in some other form. Let me write this number. Ignore the sign, only 5.75736. Now look into the 4 options. Here you can see this is the correct answer. But in your options, right, you will have like maybe 4, something like this. Some might be numbers. What you need to do is you need to put this in the calculator and see what the values are. I'll show you now. All you need to do is type it out. And please remember, if it is trigonometric functions, keep the radian mode on and now solve it. What's the answer? It's 5.75. So whichever option matches with the answer you got is the correct answer. So the other 3 wouldn't be the same. So that's how we solve this one. Please do try all these problems by yourselves. You will get the same answer. Just type it out. Now since it's exponent, I'll just do this quickly. Integral, shift and natural logarithm gives you exponent. Alpha x over here minus, open the bracket, alpha x minus 1. Close the bracket and the limits are, see the negative 2 is smaller than 0. So it's minus 2 first and then 0. And the answer is 4.86. And over here we have 5 minus e to the power minus 2. Now let's solve that. It'll be 5 minus e to the power minus 2. And it will be the same thing. 4.86 is the correct answer. So this is how we can solve this. Try this by yourselves. You will get, if you get negative answer, Remember, that's fine, just take the value. And you need to solve all the options and match it up. Now, what if the limits are not given? In such problems, you need to find the limits. How do you find the limits is, now this is x squared. Even if you don't graph it accurately, it's fine. I'll just graph over here for this one. It's -1, so it's something like this. And it's 7 minus x squared. So it'll be uh, positive or something like this. Okay. You will have two intersecting points, isn't it? Now, how would you find those intersecting points? For quadratic, for linear, it's very simple. All you need to do is equate them both. This y and y must be equal. So all you do is x squared minus 1 equals 7 minus x squared. Now take this to the other side. It will be x squared plus x squared equals 7 plus 1. 2x squared equals 8. Now you can solve this directly by, algebraic method, divide both the sides and then take the square root of 4. It will be plus or minus 2. Or you can use quadratic, mod phi 3. How you do it is, whenever you have x power 2, you can easily get this into quadratic form. Bring this 8 to the other side. It will be 2x squared minus 8 equals 0. Now here remember it's 2x squared plus 0x. The x term is not this, so it's 0x minus 8 equals 0. Now all we do is we use this mod phi and the option number 3 for quadratics. Put over here the coefficient is 2, 0 and minus 8 and solve it up. The answer is 2 and minus 2. The limits basically for the formula over here, integral, it's minus 2 and to lower to higher. Now, do I need to know which is upper and which is lower? I don't need to, because you just put any one of this equation. The answer, if you get negative, that means you have taken it wrongly. Otherwise, you'll get correct answer. That's it. Value will be correct. Let's do it. Integral. Now, I'll just take the first equation, that is alpha x squared minus 1. Now I know that is the lower function, but still doesn't matter. And over here we have again alpha x, sorry, it's 7 minus x squared and close the bracket. And over here the limits are minus 2 to positive 2. The answer will be negative here, but that's fine. The answer value is correct, only the sign is negative because I chose the lower and upper value. So this is the answer. It's 64 by 3. That's what we had got. But forget the negative sign. Whatever the answer will only be positive. Area is only positive. So that's how we solve it. This is the graph if you want to know. Now here as well, it's a quadratic. It's very simple. I'll just tell you how we can solve it up. X squared minus 1 equals half x squared. Take this to the other side. It will be x squared minus half x squared minus 1 equals 0. This will be half x squared minus 1 equals 0, or it is 0.5 x squared minus 1 equals 0. So this is the equation. You can put it by mod phi 3, find the limits and easily use the formula. You don't need to know which is up and low. Just put this function minus the other one with the integrals. So here the answer would be negative root 2 to positive root 2. Here you may not get this directly in the calculator. If you get this, well and good. Otherwise, you need to press SD and check for the value. Same way you can do this one as well. Let me do this one because it's cubic, right? So here what you do is you just equate y is equal to y, sorry. That is x cubed is equal to 3x plus 2. Let us rearrange this. Let's bring everything to the one side. It will be x cubed minus 3x minus 2 equals 0. This changes the sign. Please remember, sometimes students tend to forget to change the sign and then your answer will be wrong. Instead of say getting 2 and minus 1, you might get something else, instead of minus 2 and 1, and the answer will be entirely wrong. So please be careful. Now it's always better to fill up the other degrees. Plus 0x squared minus 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. Why I'm writing like this is, sometimes I only get confused. Okay, if I don't write this, I'll just take 1 minus 3 minus 2. And that's an error. You should know that there is a 0 over here. So it's better to write all the degrees and include the 0. Now let's use a calculator to solve this cubic function. That is mod phi and 4 for cubic. So it's 1, 0, -3, and lastly we have -2. The answers are 2 and -1. So the limits over here, x is equal to 2, x is equal to -1. So they are the limits, -1 and 2. Okay, now you might be thinking, this is x cubed. There must be 3, right? Let me press again. No, 1 is repeated because there are only 2 solutions here. Okay, because one solution is already repeated. So our limits are -1 to 2. So you need to go back to the computation mode. Let's do this answer. It'll be minus, let's write the equation first. Alpha x cubed, this is power 3, minus, we have 3x plus 2. Now close the bracket, and the limits are from -1 to 2. And the answer is -27/4, but ignore the negative sign because this is the lower and upper function. You don't need to bother about that. Only take the value. It should be 27/4. You can see that's the answer. Here's the graph. So here as well, you can do the same method, but over here we have square root x equals x squared. It's a little bit difficult, isn't it? But still, you can solve this. How we can do that is, let's square both the sides. What happens when you square it up? Here you square it, over here you square it. It's going to be x is equal to x to the power 4, right? Let's take it to one side itself. This, let's take it to the other side. It'll be x power 4 minus x, and it will be equal to 0. Okay. Now what I do is I'll remove this x common out. So what am I getting? X cubed minus 1 is equal to 0. So I factored it out. And here x can be equated to 0 and x cubed minus 1 equated to 0. So the limits are 0 and 1. You can use the calculator to solve this, but over here this is 0. You can't do anything. But you can easily do this as x cubed is equal to positive 1. What is the cube of 1? Cube of 1 is 1 itself. It's not plus or minus 1. It is just 1. Okay. If it was minus 1, cube would be minus 1. Now, since we are dealing with cube, we can ignore the calculator because there's only one answer for sure. But if it was square over here like this, x squared is equal to 1. Square root of 1 would be the square root, right? Plus or minus 1. But if it's cube, we don't have plus or minus. It's only a single number. If it was, say, minus 27 cube root, right? Now we are not taking square root, sorry, it's cube root. That is minus 3. It's not plus or minus 3. It's only minus 3. If it was plus, it'll be plus. That's how we do it. So now we found the limits are 0 to 1, and then use any of the equations and solve it just like what we have done a while ago. So you can see it's 0 to 1, and this is the upper function. But even if you do the other way around, you will just get the negative sign and the same answer. But now what happens if it's, complicated problems? Now the best and the reliable shortcut method is by table, mode, and 7. That's the table method. Now let's type this out. 4 alpha x, so it should be alpha and x, and then you have e, that is shift and ln, minus x squared. Only type one equation at a time, but because most of the calculators have only this option, but now to save time, I'm going to put both. If your calculator allows you to put both the functions, you can try this as well. You can take modulus over here, shift and absolute. ABS gives you the absolute sign, alpha x. Now this is very simple. You know the values. If x is 1, y is 1, x is 2, y is 2. It's a simple graph. Now what you need to do is, where do you start? In this, don't go to values which are very beyond 0, near to 0, because almost always the values, the integral limits, right, will be very close to 0. Okay, so what I do is generally I go with -2 or -3 max. Now you can go with -3. Let me take -3. Okay, don't go beyond this. -2 is also fine. And where do you want to end? If you have taken -3, it's good to end with 2 or 3, not more than that, maximum 3. And then now, what is the step? This is very important. Don't give a step 1. It will be too broad values. You won't be able to figure out anything. What I generally do is, I give a step of 0.5 or 2.5 for more detail. Now I'll just take 5. And here's the table. Now for you guys, the table will be individual. You'll get one table first for the first equation, then the second equation, you must do it again. But over here now I can compare it easily. Now what I will do is I'll graph it up. Basic graph. And guys, if you're practiced, it won't take much time. It's just in calculator. Over here it is -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. In the mid we have 0. That's 1.5, sorry. 0.5 here, negative 0.5 and negative 1.5. Now we got the values, the first function and the second function. If you don't get it together, it's fine, you can graph it separately. Now, anyways, when I'm plotting the points, I'll take one at a time. But don't just start plotting, let's look into the values. You can see over here, it's all 0 point, very, very minute values. It's -1, very small, and 0. Over here, it's 0, and then we have positive. So what I can understand is the left side is all negative values over here. It was very small. It was over here something 0. Okay, and 0, something like this. Let me just go back. I forgot the values. It is, see, let me plot only from -2. It's -0.1, and then there's -0.6. Sorry, my points are wrong. Let's assume this has 0.1 over here, then it was 0.6 over here, then we had 1 point, big one over here, then, so you can see after -1.5 over here, it's a big down, there was a drop at 0 directly. You can see there is 0, and then it's positive moving upwards at 0.5 somewhere over here. And this is how you can approximately graph it up. Okay, you can see that there is again increase from 1.5, there is decrease, 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 something like this. Now what about the right side? Look over here at 0. Can you see the 0? X value is 0. What happens? Both the graphs are 0, so that is one touching point. I'll just change the color. Now for the second graph over here, at 0 it is 0, and then at 0.5 it is 0.5. This was 1.5, right? So it is not the same. See over here, you can compare these two. And then over here at 1.4, this is 1. Again, it's smaller. See, in comparison. And over here now it's 1.5. It's not matching up. But now you can see this graph is pretty straightforward. 0, 0.1, 1, 1.5. It increases, you know. So it starts with 0, it's small over here, and then little high, and it goes. So if you know the approximate graph, it's something like this, and over here the intersecting point is where? Now this is not accurate, but I can predict it's close to 1.1, right? Or after 1 or just below 1. So this is the approximate rate. So what I would do is I would take a limit from 0, yes, obviously it's meeting up, 0 to 1.1 or something. And now let me do the calculation for this. Let me use this mode 1. Let's go back. Integral 4x e to the power, that is shift and this symbol over here, minus x squared minus, let's take modulus x, or you can directly take x, it doesn't matter, it's the same thing. From where to where? From 0 to 1.1. What is the answer? It's 0.7986. Now you will have 4 options, right? Whichever is very close to this will be a correct answer. See, let's write this answer over here. 0.7986. All the 4 answers will be different, okay? Now here, 3 minus ln 4 divided by 2. What's the answer here? 0.806, which is very, very close to the answer we got because we did not take the accurate value. And over here, they must give you the benefit of doubt because no way you can graph it accurately. So in my personal opinion, this problem may not come. Why? Because it's so close and there's not an easy method to solve this, okay? So you need to do graphing. And this graphing is not easy. You need a graphing calculator. But still, if you're doing it in rough figure, you will never get the accurate answer. You will just get an approximate. See, I got this approximate value of 1.1. But actually it is root of ln 4, that is 1.17 or something like that. So this is how you do it, do this type. Now we move on to an interesting problem. Here, this is a little bit difficult. You know, if this comes with MCQ, you will have to work a lot in this. I mean, not a lot, just the graph and everything. Um, Now, this specific problem is an interesting one because it's not as simple as the other ones. Now, we just now did the graph, right? The same thing can be graphed over here. See, now this is absolute value. It's always this. This is the absolute value graph. And this is rational. It will come something like this. Now, what happens is if you have an absolute value and the intersecting is from 0 to over here, it's fine. This is considered to be positive x. But modulus means it can be either positive or negative, right? Now here both the sides are obtained. So the value of this function varies. Now what is the function over here? Over here it is minus x, over here it is positive x. That's the difference. Why? Because over here the slope is going downwards, here it's increasing. So when we use the equation, it's upper equation minus lower equation, absolutely fine. But since here, if you know the rational function, it will be like a mirror image, okay, for especially for this, if it is any constant, okay. If this is say 3, what happens is this part over here and we'll go something like that, it's a mirror image on both the sides. Now the over here, because it's x squared, if it was x, then it will be an asymptote over there. Now in such cases, what you basically do is over here, put this thing and this thing in the calculator directly. You will get one of the limit and you can consider that to be the mirror image. I will show you now in the calculator. I've typed the given equation over here. To get the absolute value, you just press shift and HYP, you will get absolute, the two lines, and then type in x. And if you press shift and solve, let's see, you get the answer 1. Now if you get 1, you should know it's like a mirror image, the other one will be over here. So that is the limits. Now what about the formula? See, here you must remember the formula for 0 to 1. Here, x value is there, right? This x value, it's minus x. The function is 1 is minus x, and then you have 2 by x squared plus 1. Whereas for the other time, it will be positive x, and it's 2 by x squared plus 1. So I'll substitute over here. The above function, 2 by x squared plus 1, this is 2, and over here it will be minus of minus x, that will become plus, okay, eventually. And then you need to add up with the integral dx, add up with the second part over here, 0 to 1, sorry, I wrote the limit wrong. It's from minus 1 to 0 at the first limit, okay, not 0 to 1. And then the next limit is from 0 to 1. But here what happens is the 2 by x squared plus 1 is same, but here it is minus what? This is x, this is minus x, so it will be positive x itself and dx. This is the equation. Now if you put this in the calculator, you will get the answer directly. I've typed both the equation. You need to press this, type in the first equation, and then separately go next, and then add the second equation as well separately. The answer over here is 2.14, and over here we got pi by 2 minus 1. Now here, this is the correct answer. It's 2.1415. It's not pi by 2 over here. Actually, what happens is 2 times tan inverse x. When you apply the limits, it's pi by 4, but you are multiplied by 2, so it becomes pi by 2. So here we will have pi by 2 and pi by 2. So pi by 2 plus pi by 2 would be pi minus 1. So then it is 2.14. So that is the correct answer. Remember, just for this question, because it is a modulus question, when we have limits from negative to positive, the left side will be minus x, then the right side will be x. So we split the interval, the formula, right? We split it. So you know the formula. It's just that in one side it is going to be, the left side, wherever the negative symbol, it will be minus, and minus will be plus x basically. And over here, since it's plus, minus x, minus times plus x will be minus x only. Now this one is similar to the previous one, but over here there is no modulus. So I'll tell you the method exactly, but for this, if such problem comes, you need to know the basic graph. You can easily get the graph from the table option. You will get the points and you can graph it randomly. See, answer is over here minus 2, but there is a problem. Here there are many intersection points. See, it's a linear line, right? It's a straight line. It will touch over here, and over here. There are 3 points. So that means you have to split the limit. So whenever you get such cases, over here it's -2 to 0 is one limit. So integral from -2 to 0, again integral from 0 to 2. Now you might be worried, okay, over here the upper, lower, upper, lower. No, don't worry about that. It's just that you must do this individually. Okay, solve it up individually. You don't need to bother about this. I'll show in the calculator how to do it. Once you know the limits, just press this and let's type the equation. I'll just type 5x divided by x squared plus 1, and then we will have to subtract it with the other equation, that is x. And what are the limits? The limits are from -2 to 0. Over here, what is the answer we are getting? We are getting negative, but doesn't matter. This is the correct answer only. Just take the value. So the first answer is let's take the value only. It's plus 0.0235. Now the same thing, same equations I'm going to keep, but just change the limit over here. Same equations, the limit from 0 to 2. So it's 0 to 2 over here. And now what is the answer? It is the same answer, but it'll be the positive. So now add them up. When you add it up, so I'll just multiply it by 2 because we're adding the same thing. 4.047, right? Now the final answer must be the same. Then 5 minus 4 will give you 4.047. So if there is no modulus, it's very straightforward. Just that limit needs to be solved. Once you get the 3 points, split it out. You don't need to worry about the function, first function, second function, upper, lower. No, just find it. If the value is negative, just take the magnitude of it. In the sense, it's the value only. Over here also you get the value, add them up, and then compare with the 4 options. Similarly, you can solve these problems by yourselves, guys. Now over here you can use the table method to get the graph, but sine and cosine, it's very simple. Cosine starts from 1 at x value 0, whereas sine starts from below. So this is how we get it. You don't need to worry about which is upper and lower, but over here till 0 to 2 pi. Now here you must remember one thing. It's not about the intersecting points only, it's about where it starts. They have clearly mentioned we need to start from 0 to 2 pi, right? So the first value will start at first limit. See, it starts with 0 until where it intersects. It always intersects at pi by 4. Next one will be add again pi, it will be intersecting over there. If you know thoroughly trigonometry, then this is very easy. It starts from 0 to pi by 4. Next one, it will be from pi by 4 to 5 pi by 4. And then from 5 pi by 4 to the ending point where they have told us 2 pi. Make sure you solve each of these values individually. Now over here you will get some value. Say imagine you got 2, over here you might get 3.5, over here you might get 3, add them up at the end. You might get plus or minus, just take the value of it. Now similarly over here, try to sketch a rough graph. You will get approximate points. You won't get the accurate. See, one answer that is 0, you will get it accurately. But this one, right, it's just a hunch. You can take it as 0.7 and then check for the answer. You will never be able to find that 0.7145. That's not possible. It's possible only in graphing calculators and other things. So over here, we just take it approximately and solve it up. Technically, such problems may not come because, if you're using graphing calculator, yes, we can easily find these points and then do it up. But otherwise, such graphs will just take a long time and everything. So this is how it is. But please be thorough with the starting part of the question. Most probably it'll be a simple equation, simple graphs. You don't need to graph it up. Just make them equal. Maybe it's a quadratic or cubic. Find the limits and directly use the formula. Doesn't matter which is upper or lower. You will get the answer anyways. Same way over here. Please do try them by yourselves. Over here are the sketches as well. Same thing over here. And all the solutions are worked out. It's just that after graphing, approximate the limits and get the limits. Now here as well. Now, natural logarithm function, it'll be from year to year. And over here we have a quadratic. So whenever you have such problems, natural logarithm, if you want to graph, you can take minus values, but you will get an error because it doesn't exist at the minus, right? So start only from 0 to 2. That's it. It'll take very, very short time. For 0 to 2, take some 4 to 5 values. Over here also from 0 to 2, take some values, plot them. You will get some points like this. 1, 2, 3, draw it. And then better to change your pen or the color and plot another few points. You will come to know the approximate point, guys, not the accurate point. Over here I can take it as 0.1. Here it might be 1.5 or something, and then put it in the limit, and that's how you solve these problems. And that is the end of the question one. It has been a lengthy one. Please try to focus on the initial part of the questions, which are very easy and they are most likely to come for the exam. For the next part, it's just that use your calculator, mode 7 table, graph approximately, and then try to take the approximate limit and solve it up.